going outside of your comfort zone. I've heard this from a lot of people, and why I started this whole community was, a lot of people that I know are super talented. They have a great idea, but they just go, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. There's always something that's going to pop up that you go, yeah, but if I do this, it would work, but I don't want to do that. That thing you don't want to do is probably exactly what you have to do. Hey everyone, welcome. I am Christina DeNeé. This is Life in the DIY, where we encourage and empower entrepreneurs that want to be entrepreneurs or already are entrepreneurs to really take those leaps of faith and turn their gift into a business. Today, I am so excited to have the guest I have with me. It is my friend Channing Moreland, who I met right when I actually moved to Nashville in late 2018. She is someone that I have admired immensely and I have gotten to know personally over the last couple of years, and she is my first guest on this Life in the DIY, whatever it is. We're really excited to have her. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Channing before we get started. Channing Moreland is the CEO and co-founder of EVA, a platform that provides vetted quality entertainment for virtual and in-person guests. After producing 90 plus events, booking hundreds of acts, and negotiating major festival partnership agreements, Channing recognized the need in the market for streamlined talent booking. So she co-founded EVA, a technology solution that integrates seamless communication, logistics, and direct access to curated talent and experiences for corporations, festivals, and brands. Channing was awarded Young Entrepreneur of the Year by the Next Awards and has received write-ups in Forbes, Nashville Business Journal, The Tennessean, and more. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Songwriting and Entrepreneurship from Belmont University. So I am, again, so proud and I'm honored to welcome Channing. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Christina. It's an honor.
Oh, it's such an honor for me too. I know we're getting like super juicy love right away, but it really is. I came to Channing with this concept kind of right when I started coming up with it, and she was the first person I really thought of to be a part. So I'm really glad to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about EVA to get started?
Yes, absolutely. So like any business, it's evolved a lot as we've continued to figure it out. But what EVA is we are a marketplace, that technology platform that connects entertainers with event opportunities. So we mainly work with corporate events and brands, and we're helping them source anything from keynote speakers to different kinds of entertainment activations, live music. And we just really found through our own journey, which I know we'll definitely talk about, but just the pain points that we had ourselves when trying to source that kind of talent.
Right.
And that's really where it all began. But you can do anything on the platform, from discovering to contract payment to insurance and tax oversight. And so really just trying to make it easy and streamlined with transparency for people.
So that's kind of incredible. Like I said, when I first moved here, I moved to Nashville in late 2018. And at the time I had Big Head Cartoon, which was my caricature business. And then I also am in the band Breaker Box, and we produced concerts with Red Bull and Heineken up north in Buffalo, where I'm from. And the first thing I wanted to do was connect with EVA, because I knew it was so innovative and different. And you all really cared about what was being, like they say, you vet the entertainment. So I met, actually, Debbie Garcia was the first person I met that was working with you at the time. We all love Debbie. And she introduced me to you and Mackenzie. And I was just so impressed because you did this so young. I mean, more than anything, that really was what blew my mind. How did you meet Mackenzie? How did this whole concept really come out?
Yes, it's one of my favorite parts of our story. Is it just felt always very serendipitous and meant to be. Mackenzie and I met because we happened to walk in to our freshman orientation at college at the same exact time. That is really the only reason. So I believe we would have met, in another way, but we happened to walk in and they paired us as roommates, and then we went into the elevator together, and then that's when we figured out that we were going to be roommates for this orientation. And it was so amazing because we ended up being on the same hall in our freshman year and really got to know each other there. And from there, we just were experiencing a lot of live shows together. We had this kind of whimsical naivete of why can't things be better? Why are things like this? Asking those questions. So that's really where it all began.
I gotta laugh at the why are things like this? That seems to be like the common thread of the people that I'm interviewing and talking to about just having your own thing and following your gift, and questioning just what's happening around you seems to be like the super common thread of like, how can we, it doesn't even really make it better, but like, why are they this way? And how can we make our mark in this kind of world? And I don't know, that seems to be a very common thread, but I didn't realize you guys were roommates.
Yes. And then we ended up being roommates throughout college, and even after college when we were building the business.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were like, okay, some boundaries and space is probably best as business founders together. So we'll then just continued it from there.
That is so cool. I mean, how did you in the Life in the DIY class, we talk about identifying your gift, and I know for me, I was always a singer. I was very lucky. My parents were both artists and musicians. So I started singing with my father at nightclubs when I was like 5 years old. Like it was like the Jacksons without the success. But that kind of work ethic was in my family. And I worked with my mom at home drawing with her. So it wasn't really something I ever thought about. It was just what I did. And so when I really identified my gift, which was entertaining people, it opened up so many different avenues that I wouldn't have thought were possible for me, including this. But for you, when did you really identify your gift of like, okay, I'm seeing all these live shows, I'm questioning like, why is this the way it is? How can we make this better? Or however you were actually wording that to yourself. But how did you really identify your gift in this?
I love that question, because I feel like people don't often talk about it enough when really identifying the start of their business and why. So for me, I always was just kind of considered a performer because that's what was accessible where I grew up. Was if you wanted to be involved in music, you played an instrument. And so growing up playing music, writing music, getting a ticket to Nashville by majoring in that, it's crazy to me that you can, but I did. But I always just knew I was like, I'm not meant to perform. I know I don't want to do it. I'm looking at so many people where that is their gift. That's all they can think about doing is performing. And I know that's not me. But I started to connect the dots when I started thinking about what a producer does. And they see talent, they identify it, or a manager, and they start to really cultivate that within someone, and they want to bring out their best strengths. And for me, I was so people oriented, and I wanted to I really felt that I could help like guide a team and help keep them motivated and like produce the idea or the business. And so when I started to see on the music side that maybe like the producer mindset, but I quickly learned that that could actually be replicated in growing a business. Like really that business mindset, keeping everyone on the same page. It's so tough to just take the jump and believe. And so you really need that more visionary person. And then I think having that more like implementer is important too. And that's why Mackenzie and I's relationship works so well. It's like, I'm the one kind of always looking at bigger picture. She's looking more down, making sure we're getting things done on track. So that's where I really started identifying the gift of like, almost like keeping it together, the glue.
And that's so great that you said that too, because that reminds me kind of my partner and myself. I work with Scott, and one of my other things that I talk about in the class is that collaboration. A lot of people, I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm from a smaller city, a lot of blue collar, wonderful people, very self-sufficient. That was just kind of how I was raised. You just hustle, you do your thing, and collaborating. It was almost, we come from a culture, at least where I'm from, of like, you don't work with family. Don't work with friends or family. You're going to, don't shit where you eat. That's definitely what it is. And being in Nashville, that was one thing I changed about my thinking when I came here was I'm going to go right for the person that I shouldn't talk to. I'm going to go right and talk to the caricature artist in town. And how can we do something together? And that's the first thing I did. And that change of collaboration over just
competition,
doing my thing at competition, that was a huge mental shift for me. And Scott is very similar. Like, so if you find your collaborator, they usually, in my personal opinion, they answer your question. Like his brain works in a totally different way than mine does. He's super
Totally.
one thing at a time. What's the task at hand? I'm 5 years ahead going, well, this could grow into this, 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 and this. And I stress him out, he stresses me out. It's how it works.
Yeah.
But in
It
the
just
end,
makes sense.
we end up on the same page and we go somewhere forward. So collaboration has been very big for you. And I especially myself as well, I definitely know, I accomplished quite a bit on my own, but when I really embraced having a partner and really collaborating with ideas and processes and building a team, I mean, it just goes somewhere that you can't really imagine. And to have that skill of being able to keep that team together, personally, I've grown to have those skills. I think Scott definitely has them, but it wasn't my biggest strong suit. So hiring someone that does have that strong suit is really very wise. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You need the glue. That's for sure.
Need the glue.
I'm going to get known for this. I drink tea the entire time.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, that's my plan. I'm getting known for drinking tea. Well, you mentioned a few things that I did want to touch on, but, rising above the noise level is always something that, because, everybody has a gift. You identify it, but it might be something that a lot of people do. I mean, there's nothing really all that special about what I do, especially, like you said, coming here into Nashville with music. A lot of people play music, man. Like, it's definitely the first thing I saw when I just started coming down here with my band was, okay, the guy at Kroger, which is our local grocery store, has been on records. He's a guitar picking maniac and he's bagging groceries. So what's the connect here? Like, how do you rise above the noise level in whatever field you're in? I think that stops a lot of people from taking that step of going, I'm going to make my talent my business. I can bake, I can do hair. But everybody does hair. So who's going to pay me? So in your opinion, I mean, what did y'all do with EVA that made it rise above the noise level of just a booking agent or someone else that's doing something similar?
Great question. I think for us, there was a couple of things. First, it was always really important to us that, well, we had to learn this the hard way. We originally started with a different business, was really understanding the competitive analysis. And I'm such a believer in collaboration, but at the end of the day, like, there are just going to be competitors to our business that we compete with. And us really understanding where the gaps were in the market, what were they not doing, what was their opportunity for. And we saw, after consistent analysis, that there was so much room in the fact that it was really lacking technology. So it was a really archaic piece of the business, booking. And there was a lot of money being left on the table or business not being paid attention to when it came to these specific kinds of events. And there was this gap because, agents are focused on more their tour facing, public facing events for their acts. And then there's maybe just one or three corporate agents on that agency focused on, all of the corporate. So, there was definitely opportunity to come and assist them. But then actual competitors and what we were doing, really there wasn't technology to complement it. So for us, the big, differentiator was having, innovative technology to really streamline the solution. And then it was also an incredible customer service. We saw that, clients were basically just having to do all the work. They weren't being led down an enjoyable path. They weren't nurtured, and found a big gap there. So client relationships. And then the final piece was really a brand that people could get behind and that would feel more new and exciting. We saw a lot of competition that's, I think, maybe just been a little complacent with their brand for quite a few years. And we really believe that with the tech innovation, that we had an opportunity to come in and make some noise and look different on purpose, and hopefully catch some eyes with that. So those are like the three pillars of, how we tried to rise above the noise and where we're really trying to focus on showing up.
Awesome. I was hoping that I knew you'd have an answer for that, but I was like, I wonder what her story is on, like, how did you fill the need? But you made a couple great points. Filling a need. That's something that I've learned over the years of, doing caricatures. It's a pretty common thing. It's actually a staple at most events. That was why I did it. I mean, I started doing caricatures full time because I was doing my music. I was a waitress for a long time, so I kept leaving my job. They don't like that. They don't like when you go away for a week and then you come back. They kind of want you to work at the restaurant. So I've worked at so many, it's actually easier for me to tell you the ones I haven't worked at than how many I've worked at. That being said, when I went into caricatures, I'm like, how can I fill a need with this thing that everybody is doing? Like, there's a lot of really very talented caricature artists out there, better than me, but what can I do? So I think how you said, you really looked, and again, it kind of brings it back to that initial identifying your gift of, you started going to shows and going, why are things this way? How can we do something? It's kind of the same thing. You analyze it. Okay, I bake, but what can I do that someone isn't doing? Can I offer some kind of a service with that would just really bring something special? So there's experience, like you said, customer experience. That's something my company is really big on. We want you to feel relaxed, excited. God forbid you're actually excited about spending your money on a service that you're, asking us to provide, and making sure that the customer experience is really great, and making sure that, you brought up another point about a brand. Just the word brand. A lot of people, and I've seen this personally for myself back in my old town of Buffalo, and here too, especially in the arts and creative, people feel like when you brand it, you're selling out. And a lot of people look at it that way. They're like, oh, you're bougie. You got a logo. I'm like, I'm all about the logo. Like, I love that. I mean, if you're going to tell Nike that they're bougie, yeah, they are, because they're $1 billion corporation, and the swoosh. So if you didn't see that, so building something that becomes so memorable and just identified, like Nike, like Apple, like those things, why not look to those as inspiration? There's no reason why, maybe you're a home decor specialist, but why can't you be the Apple of home decor specialists? Like I always say with my company, wanted it to be the McDonald's of caricatures. The colors, yes. That girl with the pencil, like that, when you show up at McDonald's, like it or not, however you feel about it, you're going to get the same taste. It's going to be the same thing. So you made a lot of great points about that, but filling a need, I think, is so crucial with whatever it is that you do, because there are needs to be filled always. I mean, the pandemic, we can talk about that for maybe a minute. You and I really connected during that time because my company, we pivoted to virtual very, very quickly, because that was my mindset. Okay, this is insane. Lost my whole business. How do I fill a need in this current state? Because no matter what the state of the world is, you can't change that, but you can change how you react to it. And, how did you approach that whole time? What was your mental state? Do you feel like maybe what you had gone through prepped you for it? Because you all did very well, and you pivoted and survived it.
Absolutely. We joked at the beginning and through the pivoting process that businesses use that term a lot when they're really, getting started and evolving, that the pandemic for a startup or for a new business honestly just feels like a Tuesday. Like, you're so used to just having to crunch, grind, figure it out, mull it over. Like, you're just change it up, pivot. Like, you're always having to make edits. So when this happened, it was just like, okay, well, obviously this really rocked us, but we know how to get back up and get started. So for us, yes, absolutely. The mindset was to just really hear the need, to pay attention, again, all over, like rebuilding the business model. Like, where is the real need? How can we come in with our brand? What are we offering that's different? What's actually going to fill the need? Like, all those questions just happen again, but we had to be even faster.
Right. And I think, and I watched it, and it was very impressive. And there was a lot of people being in Nashville. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes. I just said this to someone the other day. I'm like, I feel like I just picked my head up, after almost 3 years, but it was just so intense. And that kind of brings me to my next point that we talk about in the Life in the DIY class and this whole community is your mindset and getting, everybody comes from somewhere. We all have programming. We all, we're little kids raised by certain people in a certain place. And then you have to decide what, in my opinion, what you want to experience And then you have to program your brain to experience that. And that's something that's a major, major roadblock for most people, was for me. It definitely delayed my success by a decade and a half, I could easily say. For you, is there anything that you can share with people about your journey in that regard, as far as like your morning routine or what you do with, to keep your mental health right? Because as you're an entrepreneur, it really is, I believe it's like diet and exercise. It's 80% what's in your kitchen, 20% of moving your ass. But with entrepreneurship, it really is the same. It's a lot of your mental, and then the rest is the work. But please, what could you share with people that helps you?
Oh, yes. So I feel like I know this because I've been at this for a long time, and I feel like I'm having new breakthroughs as of a couple of weeks ago of what really works for me in my wellness recipe. But what I've learned is that I feel like when you are building a business or starting that idea or in the process of growing it, it can be an extremely isolating and lonely time. And you've never experienced the kind of stress and pressure, and this like existential pressure as well. And then how to balance all that and then get up and do the work to keep it going. And so your mental health, I think, is more important than ever when you are starting or building a business. And so something that I've experienced that I really try to talk about a lot with people is, there's so much around burnout. And what I have experienced is I feel like entrepreneurs have chronic burnout, because there's just so much going on. It's a roller coaster, ups and downs. Like, you can't just like have a whole period of burnout and then be all good. It's like, honestly, sometimes it kind of feels like depression. Like there can be a really bad day. There can be a really great day. There can be a bad period. There can be a great period. And I think for me, me figuring out and listening to what helps me in my mental health keeps that chronic burnout from spiking.
Right.
So all of that said, some of the things that I've personally found to kind of, I just am like always constantly trying to take out the toxic to pour in like the positive. Yeah. But the morning routine, as annoying as it is to say, like it really makes a difference.
It's crazy.
I highly recommend the Artist's Way. Whether you're spiritual or not, you can kind of remove that lens that does come with it, but it's an incredible 12-week kind of at your own pace, working through program. But one of the best things that comes out of it, and it's a book, but you're just like really uncovering your creativity, but in your work-life balance. But the main thing I love from it is it recommends like you journaling quite a bit. You're journaling at least 3 pages a day. For me, journaling has always been a big thing to get my thoughts out, because sometimes it can feel like just so much is up there and I need to just like release it.
Yeah, especially females, I feel. Can't speak for the men, but for women, Lord help us all.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. Like a lot thinking through.
And ain't nobody gonna listen to all of that.
No. And I kind of think like your mind is like a muscle. You have to train it daily, just like you would a muscle. And so for me, it's like the combination of journaling, meditation, and then yoga is my personal that just helps me stay calm, but like flow through.
Yeah.
And then after that, like the other things, therapy, yes, keeping that going. And then just like really paying attention to what's not working for me and being okay with cutting that out.
Right.
And sometimes that also means certain people, certain additives to life. Like it's constantly being okay figuring out what you need in that season, I think.
And I think, ironically, we do guys, and we'll put that link for that book right here as well. But I've never heard of that book, so I'm excited just to learn about that myself. But yes, I feel that the more you do those things, like you said, your brain is a muscle. You have to train it. I really had to train my brain. It was truly hard. About 1.5 to 2 years of a daily routine to get myself out of, I had a pretty bad illness, so I was mentally beat up from that. And then to get past that and keep going and find this new inspiration. But it did come from simply doing a morning routine. It wasn't anything more than I did. It was just like it attracted it to me. And like you said,
Yeah.
you can remove toxicity. I think the more you do these routines and you find that
Yep.
mental strength, it's easier
Hmm.
to identify this doesn't work here. This isn't supposed to be here.
Yes.
And then you get the skill of getting it the hell out. And that's a new skill that you develop. And
Yeah.
it's very important. And it helps you in your business in the end. You know, a lot of the things that I learned that I helped myself with ended up
Yeah.
coming into play in my business that I didn't expect that. But yes, I mean, we actually have a lot of the same routines that we do. I fell into yoga
Yeah.
because I just kept getting hurt. I really did, like
Totally.
running, any kind of lifting weights. I've been in car accidents and I played bass on stage for years and I have neck problems and I'm just
Yeah.
jacked. So yoga has been truly like life-saving for me. And
Yeah.
everybody has a different thing. You know, I have
Yes.
friends of mine that kettlebell workouts and they like the heavy, you know, and that's good for them. It depends on your personality. But no, so I know people are going to ask this because people ask me all the time, how do you do yoga? Like, do you have an app? Do you have a class that you go to?
Yeah. Man, I've tried everything over the years, like like getting like subscribing to a certain person
Right.
online, doing at home, going to a certain place. And for me personally, like I've just found what gives me the most release and workout and mindful retreat is hot yoga for
Oh,
me
yeah.
personally.
God bless you. That's
And
hot.
so yeah, I just found like based on where I was living and what I had access to, ClassPass was amazing. It's been amazing for me
Cool.
just to be able to. I am someone too, I've had to learn a lot. Like I need a routine, but I can't do monotony.
Mm.
And so it's like I have to be able to switch it up
Yeah, me too.
without going insane. So
Hmm.
being able to like pick different places has been very helpful.
Huge. I couldn't have said it better myself. I think it's a lot of creative people. Also a woman thing, maybe, you know, because I live with a man and he loves routine, loves it. He's like in the military in his own head, loves the same foods, loves the same process every morning, and he finds comfort in it. It makes me have panics. So the pandemic was very strange for me because I never did the same thing every morning like that. Like all day long, I was doing the same thing. But I did find that going for a long walk, I finally lived in an area that, you know, I lived in the inner city. Going for a long walk was not really the safest thing in the world to do. So I never
Totally.
did that. And it was something that I really got to do living here in Tennessee. And I was able to just walk and walk, headphones, you know, just sometimes I'd listen to nature and I got really, really into it. It gave me peace of mind. It helped me when I was building my business because during the
Yeah.
pandemic, our business went tripled. It was just crazy. We went into a global place and it was all questions. It was nothing I knew how to do. It was all the things that I had been learning how to do in the morning that I was practicing for about 5 years. I was totally prepared. And I actually really do believe this, and maybe I'm alone, but I do believe that God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, brings you nothing that you can't handle. And it's not going to be where
Absolutely.
you're comfortable. That's for damn sure. And going outside of your comfort zone, I've heard this from a lot of people, and why I started this whole community was, you know, a lot of people that I know are super talented. They have a great idea, but they just go, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. You know, there's always something that's going to pop up that you go, yeah, but if I do this, it would work, but I don't want to do that. That thing you don't want to do is probably exactly what you have to do. And it's going to pull
100%.
you somewhere and teach you something that you're going to use. And in order
Mhm.
to do that, you got to just do that thing you don't necessarily want to do. Now, I'm not talking about robbing a bank, but you know, that thing you don't want to do. And sometimes it's the yoga. Sometimes it's going for the walk. Sometimes it's doing the push-ups. It's, you know, I don't want to meditate today. Well, do a 5 minute. You know, like I have a playlist of visualizations and meditations that some days I want to do 5 minutes and I don't want to do a 30-minute, you know, Deepak Chopra, like deep breathing visualization. I just want to do like, hey, God, thanks for the water. I got a lot to do today. I'm going to get moving quicker. So finding that routine of really finding who you are, I think, you know, it seems like
Mm.
over the years, you know, you found a sense of who you are, what works for you.
Mhm.
What works for me is not going to work for you, vice versa. That's why I don't believe in telling people how to do something. It doesn't, like, I'm not going to be able to tell you how to start your own business, but I'm just going to tell you the things and the processes that worked for me to build the faith I needed to start my own business for real. That was really going to
Absolutely.
go somewhere. And the more I talk to other people, we all have the same processes that work for us. but it's a well-rounded pillars of mental health, morning routines, faith, you know,
Hmm.
physical activity, because it releases chemicals in your brain that make you feel better. And, you know, for me, I struggled with that. I had a very tumultuous little childhood there. You know, we all have, everyone has their story. I have mine. And I struggled with that. You know, I tried to medicate that in a million other ways. And finally, bottom line is I was sick of myself. So I had to, you know, I went to a little therapy, did the whole deal. And, you know, I had to work on me. And you hear the shit all the time. Like, it's not how the thing that happens to you, it's how I react to it. It's really true. It's not the thing that someone did to you. It's not, you can hold on to that forever, but you gotta eat. So what do you want to do? Do you want to spend your days passionate and excited about something? Or do you want to be stuck in that place? And you need tools to get out of it. And I think that's my goal with this. And I know you said that you've had, you know, your issues with that, because we all have. You will not find someone that has not had mental health issues, depression. This shit is hard. Life is hard. It can be.
Absolutely.
It can be great. But if it wasn't those extremes, it wouldn't be life. It would just be dull. It's a
Well
roller
said.
coaster. You know what I mean? So if you want to elaborate on that a little bit, I know you said you've had your journey, and you know, everybody hits kind of a bottom mentally, I think, with that, where they get sick of themselves, I guess is the best way to put it. But is there an old habit that mentally that you were just stuck in, that you feel like you changed and things started to really happen?
Yeah. And it wasn't what I thought it was
Hmm.
until like looking back, I was like, wow,
Right.
maybe that was. So I resonate so much with that question. Like, was there a thing
Hmm.
that, changed and then you started seeing a difference? But I think, cliche,
Oh, it's all
cliche
cliche.
thing that I'm about to say, but really for me, there was so much imposter syndrome when we started because
Mm,
kind of wasn't even expecting or even knowing that
yeah.
we were starting a business. And I definitely didn't know, looking back, like I definitely didn't know we would still be building this business at this point in time when we started. And I think just the community we were around in a really difficult industry, the
Mm,
entertainment industry, um, we were just trying to look like we should be in the room.
right.
And there was a lot of insecurities there. And me in the role I was being like the spokesperson, needing to be really grounded, needing to kind of have this male dominant energy so people
Mm,
would take us seriously when that's really not me.
right.
And I just was like navigating all of that. And so I think and this is kind of messed up, but the narrative I told myself, I think to get through was like, this is just a stepping stone in life. Like, this business, like this is just, you're meant to be on this path right now, but it'll become something else or you'll
Mm,
be doing something else. Like just like, really almost helping myself not be in fear of failure big
right.
time.
Right.
And so it helped me like calm that nerve. Well, my partner in life, he said to me, even, I think he started saying it to me like 2 years ago, and I didn't believe him, but he was like, when are you going to start believing that this could really be big
Right.
and this could really be the thing and this could really be your thing? Like, when are you
Yeah.
going to seek ownership in that and actually like take that in? It was crazy to me for how long I've been building this business, not really having that belief that I could be the one to do this. Like me and
Right.
Mackenzie could be the people. So once the whole first year, I just kind of still like quieted that.
Hmm.
But last year, I really started, and I found myself kind of like still not being all in, one
Right.
foot out, just in case to protect myself. And finally, I just became all in. I was like, you know what? What if this
Mm,
is the thing?
yeah.
What if I can be the one to do this? Um, and I just want to share that because I think it's, there's people that are saying, I have this idea, but
Yeah.
but then even when you start and when you're in it, you can be like,
Oh, you're
to like,
gonna, I'm like, with this, I'm going,
yeah,
I'm just gonna start interviewing the people that have inspired me, and I'm gonna ask them
yeah,
some questions. But like a friend of mine said, just like you always build the plane when you're flying it.
absolutely. Hey, that is entrepreneurship. That's building the business,
You
right?
can't wait. You got to start with what
Yeah,
you have where you are right now. There's never going to be a perfect time. You're always going to probably feel a little bit like that. And it just
totally.
gets less and less and less. Because also, I think, to your point, there's an element of you caring about it too. So it's like, I love the words imposter syndrome. I never used that in my life. And then actually a co-writer that I've been writing with said the same thing, because he started finding himself in these rooms in Nashville where he was recording, and he's from, a small town in Pennsylvania. And he's like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here? But you stay. Like, you just got to stay. You got to keep showing up. And before you know it, you get better at it and you get stronger with it. And then you will have a breakthrough like you just had very recently. And you've been doing this for quite some time of like, hey, maybe this is actually the thing, like instead of the stepping stone. But I think the wisdom that you get from these practices and really taking these chances and living this lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle, and you start to feel more confident in general. And then one day that gives me hope of like one day that just lets go and you go, oh no, I'm on it. I'm in it now. Like, this isn't something I'm looking towards. And because I think also as entrepreneurs, we're always and creative people, you're building in your head. Like, I know I'm like that. I'm always like, oh, but then we'll do this. And then it'll go here and it could go to all these places. And I'm telling Scott about it all the time and my friends, and like, but I'm in it. Like, this is actually something that's happening. So living in the moment. And I think reading, I'm going to talk to you about that as well. Like, just reading certain material, feeding your brain the right stuff starts to get you to recognize those things in life. And you meet like-minded people. What you think about, you attract. That's how we met. And all of a sudden we're having lunch and discussing these kinds of things. And, I really, coming to Nashville for me was my huge leap of faith. Made a lot of them, but that was the big one. And then once I got here, I realized, oh no, that was just another big one. You're going to have to constantly make them, because it's a lifestyle. As far as for me, the leap of faith, a book called Think and Grow Rich changed my life. And I read it 8 times. It wasn't, I had an audiobook driving around Nashville the first year I lived here, doing something for a living that I was doing the gigs. I was drawing caricatures still at gigs. My goal was entertaining, concerts, singing, really being an entertainer. That's why I moved here. But I was doing gigs. I'm like, I'm still kind of doing what I was doing back home, but I got to do it here because I got to get myself established here. I've got to make connections. And listening in on the audiobook, Think and Grow Rich, like a psycho, like in my own car, stuck in Nashville traffic. And before I knew it, when COVID hit, that book popped into my head. So are there any books that you could recommend for folks besides I know you mentioned, was it The Artist's Way? What was the name of that book?
Yeah, that's a great book to just kind of help you navigate the coming back to your creativity if you're blocked, or like helping you kind of think about like your spirituality and creativity. It's really interesting. I've known a lot of artists and more creative friends go through the process, but I had done some work with a spiritual coach, and ultimately what came from that was me thinking, actually, maybe I need more creativity and creative outlets in my life than I thought. So that book just like has been kind of a fun, unexpected journey. This book, gosh, there's so many. But one I'm reading right now that I'm loving is it's Horowitz is his last name, and it's like Hard Things About Hard Things, or like let me just even see. I want to get this right for this. Gosh.
And we'll be sure to put these links in the descriptions, guys, so don't sweat it too much. And you too, Channing. Don't worry about it too much. We'll make sure to put them in there.
Ben Horowitz, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And why I love his so much is he is now one of the 2, like he is the largest venture capital firms ever, Andreessen Horowitz. But he has had many successful companies, but this book, like sometimes it overwhelms me as a founder to have stuff that like you almost feel like they're not really giving you the real answers or the real grit, and you feel a little even more isolated after reading something. At least I feel that way sometimes. But he is so awesome about just being so blunt, real, and honest about the feelings behind it, where he was in the moment, everything. That's awesome. And so that was just a book that I especially loved. And then I have a lot of like self-help books too, because I feel like you're always on a emotional journey.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I think that's the key too, is realizing that you are, I mean, a lot of people I feel, stop themselves from going forward with a concept or an idea and making it a business because they do have that insecurity, and they feel like we're in this Instagram world where they're seeing just the highlights of your life. it's not all like that. I'm only going to
Totally.
show you the good shit. I mean, but having something
Exactly.
like this, that's why I wanted to have these kind of conversations so people can see, no, a Tuesday might be a real tough day and then Friday's incredible. But to me, that was the thing that has kept me in this and keeps me in this, is that that's what I wanted. If I have a job working for someone else, okay, I have maybe security, quote unquote, because I grew up in a plant town. When my father was younger and left high school, he went and bought a house, got a job at a plant, and he married my mother, and they had me. And he hustled out at night and did his artwork and his music, and it was fantastic. And then one day, all those plants closed. And I've seen that throughout my life. Some people, that's the life for them. Other things are more important to them than having that passion for their profession. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't for me. And the thing that keeps me excited every day is that I don't know what's going to happen today, because I took a leap off a cliff and my parachute opened. It takes a little bit. You hit some rocks, as Steve Harvey would say, but it did open, and I'm flying through the air here. And some days the wind comes down and I'm almost going to hit another rock, but then it pops back up. So the only way you figure that out and find that out is by taking that leap. And you're never going to be secure enough. You're never going to be ready. There's never going to be that moment you're like, that's it, I'm doing it. Just do it. Just pick a day and just start. And hopefully, life in the DIY can be filled with some resources and inspirational conversations, and just help people get the tools to change that mindset, to realize that it is absolutely possible. And all of us struggle with the same stuff, have the same kind of story starting out. We all came from something and came from somewhere and have some shit we got to deal with. And we just approach it fresh every day. and gratitude is a huge one. I know that you feel that way. I can tell by who you are. But I think gratitude, really becoming conscious of gratitude, was a very big life-changing thing for me. Can you say the same?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I actually just heard a really cool thing said that resonated with me from someone I know, and they said gratitude is the only thing that you have a unlimited supply of.
Yeah.
I just love that,
Yeah.
because it's as much as we can be grateful and gracious and make that a part of our daily practice, to think about that, to have a bigger view on things, I think.
No doubt. I think that one of the things that I was taught by one of my self-help books, because that's who I am as well, was just to write 10 things you're grateful for. Because I
Yes.
have a temper. That's been one of my Achilles heels in life. So people will tell you. But, I used to really I didn't have control over my emotions that much, just did when you're younger. I think that's just how it goes. But I realized that it was a mood shifter, they called it. If things were, and again, I do this every day. Like, there's definitely days that I need to take a effing minute and like write down the shit I'm grateful for. And it's so simple, because everybody has stuff to be grateful for. That's how whacked out we can get, especially if you're heightened in your emotions. I have clean water. I have light. I have heat. And really, being from Buffalo after the blizzard they just had, that's no joke. Like, really having heat, having clothes on your back, a bed to sleep on. There's been times in my life I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have a bed to sleep on. I will always, but sometimes, because you're in it, you have to really stop, take a breath, and write it down. Even just telling myself isn't enough. I have to write it down and look at it and read it and just go, yeah, get yourself together here. There's a lot. And then all of a sudden it shifts. And, like they always say, you don't know how a microwave works, but you enjoy its process. So it's kind of the deal with that too. I'm not sure why and how that really works, but man, does it work. It definitely, just recognizing those things that, yeah, it could be worse, man. Like, it really, really could. And it doesn't mean that life isn't hard, and there's loss and there's sickness and there's challenges that we don't expect, and they come all the time. So in my opinion, I'm like, well, I want to spend my day building something and working on something that I have passion for. I get to meet interesting people, and that's all because I followed my gift.
Beautifully said.
Well, thank you. Well, I think on that note, we'll probably end this. But Channing, thank you so much for being my first guest on Life in the DIY. I am so flattered, and I'm just really happy to know you. I am grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you, Christina, and thank you for letting me be a guest. It is awesome.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Well, guys, please make sure to follow us, join the community. You can visit lifeinthediy.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere you social.